afternoon. My name is Taylor Hagans.
And my name is Sophia Gildersleeve.
And our news is real. Today's date is September 4th, 2004, and the genocide in the Darfur region continues to rage.
Thank you. Conflict began in 2003. Rebel insurrections erupt in the western region, the non-Arab population, due to sentiments of disregard by the Sudanese government.
Now, who are the people that are causing such conflict in this region? They're known as the Janjaweed. The Janjaweed is an Arab militia known to be active in Sudan, Eastern Chad, and is now suspected to be active in Yemen. The word Janjaweed can be roughly translated to men with a gun on a horse. Isn't that absolutely terrifying, Miss Gildersleeve?
Absolutely. I just want to talk about this a little bit more. It says that in 2004, recently, the government, the Sudanese Liberation Army and Justice Equality Movement called for a ceasefire. Seemingly does not say that way.
Now, these group of people, and why it might be hard to pin them down, is because they are a nomadic group of Arab militiamen. Now, initially, like my colleague was saying, the group did not start out as a militia until non-Arab groups, the Sudan Liberation Army and the Justice and Equality Movement, took up arms against the Sudanese government, which caused an uprising that has led to devastating effects in the region that we can still feel today.
Now, the Sudanese government armed the Janjaweed with weapons in order to fight against the rebels, but this suddenly turned into terrorization of civilians. Now, we predict that the current and moving forward events will be devastating. We predict that by 2007, the conflict will persist, resulting in a humanitarian crisis, which hundreds of thousands of people will be killed and millions displaced. They will flee to areas in Chad. Now, we had a conversation with George Bush, and he says that he'll be calling for an arms embargo, which is what we predict, to end the genocide. We don't know how that's gonna go.
And we're gonna go ahead and cut to our colleague that is out in the field today.
I'm out here in Western Sudan to hear what the people are saying. The genocide here is taking a toll on everyone. I've talked to a source who wished to remain anonymous. She watched her husband die to the hands of the Janjaweed. Her daughter was also raped, along with her. They have been beat, raped, and treated unfairly. This is common to all the people here. They are poisoned, killed, raped, kidnapped. Their villages are burned and valuable items are taken. What's happening out here is truly a disgrace. Thank you, and back to the station.
Thank you so much, Kyra, for your service in the field.
And join with us today is a Darfur region expert, Alyssa Hadley.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hadley, for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so the Darfur region is a region of Western Sudan. Dar is an Arabic word meaning home, and the region was named after Dardaju, while ruled by the Daju, who migrated from Merosi 350 AD, and it was renamed Dar-Tunjer when the Tunjer ruled the area.
Now, Ms. Hadley, I do have a question. How is this genocide affecting everyday life of men, women, and children? Because this is mainly impacting normal everyday people like farmers, workers, craftsmen, things of that nature. Could you please enlighten us?
Yes, ma'am. So children in Darfur face many challenges in receiving an education, too few teachers, overcrowded classrooms, and limited or no supplies, among others. So youth face even more difficult barriers. Secondary schools do not exist in the internally displaced persons IDP camps, leaving young people in the camps who have nothing to do and little hope for the future.
very devastating.
It is.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Can you tell us about the impact since 2003?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so since 2003, the Darfur region of Western Sudan has been the site of terrible violence, death, and displacement, what the United States has labeled genocide. Despite what is currently the world's largest relief operation, efforts to calm the conflict and assist the approximately 5 million Darfurians suffering ongoing deprivation have produced precious few results. A separate conflict that remained unresolved centered on the Darfur region in Western Sudan. The conflict began in 2003 when rebels launched an insurrection to protest what they contended was the Sudanese government's disregard for the Western region and its non-Arab population.
Oh wow, thank you so much for your insight and expertise. And we really do hope that this conflict will resolve itself soon. But from all the predictions that we've heard from my colleague, Ms. Gildersleeve, from our expert, Ms. Hadley, it does not seem that this will be getting better anytime soon.
Yes. Moving forward with more predictions, it seems that there is a lot of conflict and there's a lot of crime going on. We predict that in 2008, around that time, that the ICC International Court will issue an arrest warrant in 2009 for the arrest of President Bashir, but he will avoid this due to lack of involvement. We also predict that in 2011, July 9th specifically, there will be a new nation forming, South Sudan, and they will gain their independence from Sudan. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's a lot. It's very devastating. And more predictions to come. In 2020, it will finally end. A peace agreement will be signed between the Sudanese authorities and rebel factions. Thank you.
Oh wow, 2020. Well, we have a long, long way to go.
Yes, a very long way to go. It almost seems like it's never going to reach.
Almost as if. Well, let's not hope something more devastating happens in 2020. Maybe like, I don't know, a pandemic.
Oh, that
Thank
Oh
you.
my
would
God.
be very devastating.
Terrible. Well, thank you so much. And before we go, I did have the pleasure of speaking to President Bush to get his thoughts on the situation. The talk with President Bush was very enlightening, almost inspiring, and dang it, it makes me wish I would have voted for him. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with me today, Mr. President. And so the American people just have a few questions, and I'm just here to relay the message for them. So how do you feel about the events that are occurring in the Darfur region?
The genocide in the Darfur region are deeply disturbing to me.
Do you feel that the U.S. government should get involved?
As a leader of the free world, I feel it is my obligation to ensure freedom to those at home and abroad.
Do you plan on taking any actions to resolve this issue?
Yes, I've already spoken with the Department of Treasury, and if the killing continues, I am prepared to cut off all access to the region.
Now, Mr. President, this may be a sensitive topic, but some of the American people feel that your slow response is due to the continent that the genocide is happening on and the complexion of the people that are there. Do you have any comment about that?
I can't answer that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. What is up with it?
Okay. Well, Mr. President, is there anything that you would like to leave us with? Any comment? Any concern?
See, I just want the American people to understand that with the developing war on terrorism at home, it's hard to focus on other regions. The genocide is on the top of my list, and I want to make sure that they have that in the back of their minds. The American people and those around the world, I want them to know that I care and action will be taken momentarily to resolve the issue.
Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you so
President
much
Bush.
for having me.
And heading to Jordan with the weather.
Greetings, I am Jordan Hardaway Hughes, and the forecast for the Darfur region is sun, and a little bit of rain. Starting off with the rolling plains that span of roughly 170,000 square miles, including sparsely populated areas, rather featureless and arid, merging into the Libyan desert. Soils, which are generally stony and sandy, support some seasonal grass and low thorny shrubs with tropical vegetation. The highlands receive heavier rainfall than other parts of Darfur, and a number of large watercourses rise in the mountains and flow southwards across the plain, a recipe for disaster. Now back to you, Taylor and Sophia.
More Dar talk.
Okay. Get down to it.
Right, so I really just wanted to maybe get more information about what is Omar al-Bashir doing in this situation.
Well, he's actually a bad man. He's actually the main person leading the genocide in the Darfur region. He ordered attacks on the non-Arab population. So I'm thinking it's more like it's a personal thing.
It's just absolutely devastating. I mean, you would never expect something of this magnitude to be happening in the 21st century.
Right. So how do you think that religion plays a role in all this turmoil?
Oh, absolutely. It plays a major role. The southern part of Sudan is primarily Christian, and the northern part is primarily Muslim, who are ethnically Arab. This is what the civil war is mainly about, and the government isn't helping, and as you previously stated, the president is not helping as well. And the government is largely Muslim controlled. Darfur is not Muslim controlled, so they largely ignore Muslims, which is the reason why there's so many abolitionists and militia groups popping up out of nowhere. They feel unheard, and unfortunately people, innocent people, are having to pay the consequences of that.
So what would you guys say are the demographics of South Sudan?
Well, 45% of the population are indigenous South Sudanese, and part of tribes such as Dinka, Luo, and Nuer tribes. Dinka is the most populous tribe. 60% of the population is Christian, 30% of that follows indigenous religions, and 7% are Muslims. That's crazy, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely. So the issue of, maybe people not getting enough food, I know that the weather in that region has been just absolutely treacherous. Does anybody have anything to say about the desertification of the area?
So the desertification in Darfur is